Shabbat Shalom, Shana Tova. So happy that we're all in this room together. Just a warm welcome to everyone who's joining with us this morning, to our longtime Temple Shalom friends, our members, to all the new families who are joining our community, to all the visitors and guests among us. We're so thankful that you're choosing to spend this holiday with us here. And a special welcome to our LGBTQ families, our single parents, our seniors, our interfaith families, all the many dynamic individuals who make up our community this morning. A special welcome, even though she's not in this room, to Rachel Gross-Prince, who's our fourth-year HUC intern. She's leading about 200 children in another room, so our prayers and thoughts are with her. So we're excited for that many families to be filling this space, and we're thankful for her gifts. Special welcome to Dr. Jonathan Stinson. We love having you here. To Dr. Mark Bailey for the 28 years as our choir director, and his amazing choir members, some of them who have been singing almost that long too. Welcome to our online community. Even though you're not with us in this brick and mortar building this Shabbat, this Yom Kippur, you are part of our service and we welcome you. If you don't have a prayer book of your own, there's a link that you can download, a Kindle app or an online app, so that you can follow along with us the whole service. We'll be streaming through their time. We know that there's 140 of you or computers online right now, so we celebrate you, and I'm sure as this morning goes on, there will be more of you. A special shout out to those who I know are there in that 140, which are Cookie Aronoff and Joel and my Uncle Lou and Ralph, to my mother in Seattle, my father in Belgium. I'm so lucky to be able to share this service with you, even though you're not sitting right here. A special thank you to Bob Zeke, who makes sure that we have the technology to do this, does all the sound checks for us, gives of his time in amazing ways to make this possible. And thank you to John Molander, to Jenny Costello, Marta Hyland, Faina Godkin, Laura Wright, Julie Solomon, who worked tirelessly to make this space and these services possible and to feel a little more like our congregational home. This morning, we are here together as one community, as one family. So please take a moment and turn to someone near you in your circumference, introduce yourself, ask them what they're doing for breakfast, and they say they don't know, then invite them. You guys are pretty chipper for a fasting morning. Let's turn back to our camera. The words we say, we've got a twofer happening today. We have Shabbat Shalom, so Shabbat Shalom, and Gamar Chatima Tova. Gamar Chatima Tova. May you be sealed in the book of life. We're about to take this journey together, whether you're with us just for this part of the service or you're going to be with us all day. We have study sessions in between, ending tonight with Havdalah. You do what's right for you. Connect to what you need in this moment, in this service. All of us have different ways of praying. All of us have different ways of connecting to what we need in this moment. We traditionally fast during this moment, which would be no food and no drink. But that doesn't work for everybody. If all it does is make you grumpy and irritable, spare your partner that particular gift of your spirit. Do what you need to do that makes you feel vulnerable, open, alive, without too much pain. So you are supposed to have a little bit of it, but not too much. So please do not jeopardize your health today. Do not force yourself to sit in a seat that you don't want to sit in, or read in a part of the prayer book you don't want to read. Do what you need for yourself as we go forward in this. And if you don't know what you need, then try to think that the voices beside you are your voice too. That when you can't do that, or it doesn't work for you, perhaps someone near you is doing that. And together, these voices, the silence, the singing, That's all of us in that too at the same time. So in that spirit, if you could silence your cell phones, that doesn't need to be part of the prayer experience too, and it also can interfere with our streaming. Our hope is that this service offers you what you seek, strengthens your connection to your faith, and provides an opportunity of reflection and healing. We'll begin our service on page 141.
I bless the night that nourished my heart to set the ghosts of longing free into the flow and figure of dream that went to harvest from the dark, bread for the hunger no one sees. All that is eternal in me welcomes the wonder of this day, the field of brightness it creates, offering time for each thing to arise and illuminate. I place on the altar of dawn the quiet loyalty of breath, the tent of thought where I shelter, waves of desire I am sure to, and all beauty drawn to the eye. May my mind come alive today to the invisible geography that invites me to new frontiers, to break the dead shell of yesterdays, to risk being disturbed and changed. May I have the courage today to live the life that I would love, to postpone my dream no longer, but do at last what I came here for, and waste my heart on fear no more.
We continue on page 171 with Ilu Finu, opening our mouths, our hearts to what is possible.
Ilu, 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 lulu, 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 ilu,
Page 176, Chatzi Kaddish.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה. בעלמא דיברך חירותי וימליך מלכותי. בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל. בגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה יתברך יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן.
We rise for a call to worship on page 178.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך.
continue on page 181.
Those who dwell as scientists or laymen among the beauties and mysteries of the earth are never alone or weary of life. Whatever the vexations or concerns of their personal lives, their thoughts can find paths that lead to inner contentment and to renewed excitement in living. Those who contemplate the beauty of the earth find reserves of strength that will endure as long as life lasts. There is symbolic as well as actual beauty in the migration of the birds, the ebb and flow of the tides, the folded bud ready for the spring. There is something infinitely healing in the repeated refrains of nature, the assurance that dawn comes after night and spring after the winter.
186. Please be seated as we continue on 188.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיתנתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Page 197.
Who is like you among the silent? Mute and inscrutable, you witness our pain. Once upon a time the sea was split, and Israel marveled at your outstretched arm. How many have cried since then? How many have sunk beneath the waves? Centuries of innocent blood, lives lost to hunger, war, to cruelty or indifference, and those who died with your name on their lips. And still they perish in distant lands, and still they languish on our chilly streets. Your creatures are drowning even now, so why should we sing? Ever silent, hiding out in history, you have your reasons, or so they say. You left us on our own, so let us give you leave. Withdraw into yourself, withhold your saving power, and we will live on memories of joy, and stubborn and stiff-necked will cling to hope, and gather strength to fight the pharaohs when we must, and hold fast to freedom, and celebrate in song, and vow that we will never be among the silent.
Mika
חדשה, שבחו גאולים לשמך, על שפת הים כולם. הודו והמליכו ישראל, ופתחנו ממך יהודה וישראל, גואלנו, גואלנו, אדוני, צבאות שמו קדוש. Israel, Baruch atah Adonai, Goal Israel.
As we rise on page 198 for Tefillah, I just want to acknowledge we're going to be standing for some time, and you do what you need to do.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agita hilatecha. Adonai, open my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, רומם חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבניכם, למען שמו ואהבה. זוכרנו לחיים, מלך חפץ בחיים, מלך חפץ בחיים, וכותבנו בספר החיים, למענך אלוהים חיים. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. נופלים והופך עולים ומתיר אסורים
As we turn to page 209, I just want to offer a trigger warning that this part of the liturgy can be difficult for some people. Later this afternoon, we'll actually read a whole bunch of different versions of this. And the hardest part in this season, as we talked about in Rosh Hashanah, is this element of a God who is watching and deciding who shall live and who shall die, who by fire, who by water. And in our country, in our world right now, that's a difficult liturgy to read. So if that doesn't work for you, that's okay. And I hope that part of the imagery of doing something and reading something that is problematic still has some meaning, that for thousands of years people have read this for a reason, and that even if we don't believe in this God or in these words, hopefully God believes in us in this space anyways, and we can connect to it in those ways. Today we call it by its rightful name, a day of dread, Nora v'ayom. Unwelcome visitor if we want to live in a sunny world where God is love and all endings are happy. But the drumbeat sounds and the words tumble down, and even the angels tremble with fear. For all things are judged and all things will pass, and life ends in a heartbeat, and death knows our name. At the start of the year, in the season of truth, comes the day of remembrance, for all that we forget and all that we deny, and we fall on our knees in the depths of our hearts, for we know that the bell tolls for us. The words are old, and the language was theirs, but the call is real, and the message is ours. Take hold of your life while you still have the chance, for your story will end, and it might be this year in a way you don't know. Take hold of your life. Make things right while you can, and don't miss the call of the day of the dread. In truth, you are judge and plaintiff, counselor and witness. You inscribe and seal, you record and recount. You remember all that we have forgotten. And when you open the book of memories, it speaks for itself. For every human hand leaves its mark, an imprint like no other. And so a great shofar will cry, Tikiyah. A still small voice will be heard. Angels in a whirl of fear and trembling will say, Behold the day of judgment, for they too are judged. In your eyes, even they are not blameless. All who come into the world pass before you, like sheep before their shepherd. As a shepherd considers the flock when it passes beneath the staff, you count and consider every life. You set bounds, you decide destiny, you inscribe judgments. On Rosh Hashanah, this is written. On the fast of Yom Kippur, this is sealed. How many will pass away from this world? How many will be born into it? Who will live and who will die? Who will reach the ripeness of age? Who will be taken before their time? Who by fire and who by water? Who by war and who by beast? Who by famine and who by drought? Who by earthquake and who by plague? Who by strangling and who by stoning? Who will rest and who will wander? Who will be tranquil and who will be troubled? Who will be calm and who tormented? Who will live in poverty and who in prosperity? Who will be humbled and who exalted?
Baruch Hashanah Yikatevun Uveyom Tzom Kippur Yeichatemun Kama Yavrun V'chama Yibareun.
But through return to the right path, through prayer and righteous giving, we can transcend the harshness of the decree. Continue with Kedusha on page 218.
נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא צל צף ואמר, קדוש קדוש קדוש, אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אדוננו מטיל שמך בכל הארץ. ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. אחד הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו ומלכנו, הוא מושיענו וכו ישמיענו, ברחמיו לעיני כל חי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי ציון, לדור ודור. הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גאונך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. כי אין מלך גדול וקדוש אתה.
We'll continue silently through page 248. When you completed your silent prayer, either with the words of your prayer book or the words of your heart, you may be seated, and Stu is going to play the violin through this period of silence for us. Since Yom Kippur is seen as one long day, I thought you'd get one long sermon. And so yesterday we talked about love, and today I'll continue speaking about love. That yesterday was about the fall and the falling in love, about vulnerability, loss, hopefully ending with possibility, and what the possibility of love might unlock for both all of us as individuals and personally, and also the divine nature of communal love, of civic love. And today I want to take sort of that last little bit about communal and civic love and expand into it. What does a vision of love for community look like? You might have heard this story before, either from me or I'm really into the podcast Invisibilia, and they told it there, about this hate monger, a former hate monger who was pretty high up in a white supremacist movement. And they asked him, how do you recruit people? How do you get more hate mongers on your team? And they said they had a very specific strategy to recruit. And what they would do is they'd go into a town and they'd paint a swastika on a cemetery, knock over a couple tombstones, maybe on a synagogue. And if only the Jews came out to clean it up, that was a good place to recruit. Now, if not just Jews, but the whole town came up, then they would know that there was no room for them there, that they'd have to move on. That was just part of their philosophy. And this reminded me of, or it reminds me of Dr. Martin Luther King's idea of the beloved community, where you would connect around beyond racism, where black and white hold hands together, that we'd counter hate with love in that space. And he called his principles of resistance an experiment in love. So I think about that, and then in the death of Dr. King, one might think that that vision would have died too, and yet it didn't. That any great prophet, whether it's Abraham and the Promised Land, or Dr. Martin Luther King and the beloved community, his experiment in love, when it's true vision, it's bigger than the prophet. It's bigger than the teacher. The dream continues on, and we become inheritors of those things. So we in this room, in this service, are inheritors of the dream of the Promised Land, the dream of the beloved community, of the experiment of love. And yet I think since it's now our dream, it has to be a little different than what Dr. King drew. Not just coming together in the face of racism or xenophobia or sexism, but to go a little farther, to dream of a world where we're not just connecting around hate, to erase hate, but trying to build towards love, towards abundance, and things like that. Rabbi Jonathan Sacks, who used to be the chief rabbi of London in England, and is an amazing ethicist, talked about morality as its code of ethics. Mostly it's not just ideals, but it's mostly about the way we respond to other people. So it's not just philosophy, it's how we're connecting with other people. And he writes, ultimately the difference between the two greatest principles of Jewish ethics, justice and love, is that justice is universal. It treats all people alike, rich and poor, powerful and powerless, making no distinctions on the basis of color or class. But love is particular. A parent loves his children for what makes each of them unique. The moral life is a combination of both, and that is why it cannot be reduced solely to universal laws. I'm sure all of us have a story about this, where we dream of justice as universal principle, and yet we don't really get it, don't act at it until we have the particular. For me, recently, this happened around Charlottesville, and maybe it happened for many of you also, that when I watched all those hate mongers in the city take over a very peaceful city, that for me, it was less about the protests and the counter-protests. It was the story of the rabbi and her synagogue, where they surrounded the synagogue 7 times during a Shabbat service, during a Saturday morning like we are here, so much so that they felt like they needed to exit the building. They felt unsafe. And all the while, they were screaming really anti-Semitic things. And to know that Jews were sitting there praying, having Torah out while they were hearing those things. And it shook something in me. I imagine it shook things in you too. And so I called a good friend of mine who happens to be a pastor in Price Hill, and he was not Jewish, but he's black. And I said, isn't this terrible? And he said, yeah, it's terrible, it's just like all the other protests. And I was like, oh no, that's not just like all the other protests. And he said, well, why not? So, well, this one was around a synagogue. And then I started talking about what it felt like to watch the Holocaust Museum in, I think it was Boston, and then the cemeteries in Philadelphia and St. Louis, to watch a year where anti-Semitism reminded us that it was still alive and well. There's still plenty of hate. And that every Jew has at least one story of particularism where you felt different or in danger or vulnerable because of your Jewish identity. And so I told him all about that. I told him that every little kid has a story about Santa or about not wanting to go to hell. We all have those stories, and it's not our whole story, but it's part about being different as Jews. And he said that he understood it differently. He saw Charlottesville differently, and that night he helped organize a whole support group, and they came with our other friends, and they painted Temple Sholom's walkways with chalk, saying, "We love you." So that Friday night when we walked in, it was just covered with messages of love. And I don't know if that would have happened if I hadn't been so upset about it. And I told my friend, and then he saw it wasn't just a Jewish community in Charlottesville, it was his friend. It was Miriam, too. So the next day after all this, he calls me and he said, "Did you see the video?" And I said, "What video?" He said, and it was a video that happened out of Cleveland where a young, unarmed black man was pulled from his car and beaten. And when I said, "Oh yeah," as I was watching the videos, I'm talking to him, and I said, "Yeah, it's pretty bad." And he said, "Pretty bad? Miriam, that could be me. That could be me." So I watched the video again, and we've watched plenty of these videos, but this time Daniel's face, my friend's face, was superimposed on top of it, and it made me cry. I've never cried at any of those videos before. I've been touched by them, moved by them, written plenty of angry op-eds about them, but I hadn't cried about them until I saw Daniel's face there. And it's not that I wasn't passionate about it, I just didn't get it. I didn't get it. I thought I got it, but I didn't get it. And I think that's the examples of particular versus universal. That there's this issue when we say the problem is mass incarceration. The word mass is a problem there. Mass is a problem there. I'm in the jails every Thursday morning, and now mass means, oh, that could be my nephew, or that's actually my congregant sitting there and not realizing that's my friend's sister. That all of a sudden working in that jail made me see it's not mass, it's these individuals of people I love there. The problem isn't poverty. The problem is the man who walked in here right before Yom Kippur services and said, "I have 4 children, I have no place to stay tonight." It's his face. The problem isn't that unarmed black men are being targeted. It's that it's Daniel. It's both of those things. And when we are the face of the particular, then the universal becomes particular. The universal becomes us. I think we had a Temple Sholom moment around this with the hurricane in Houston, that there was so much sort of going through. There were so many emails, and everyone's like, where can I donate? And I waited. I don't usually wait on these emails, and I did wait. I waited a week because I didn't know what actually was needed and what would be helpful. And Isabel brought a story of someone that she knew. Her name is Nadia. Her name is Nadia. And she has 2 children. She's a single parent, also supporting her parents. And when I shared that with you in an email, $600 arrived within 2 days. That when you had a personal story, when it was a particular, it wasn't just a whole city. Her voice, her face, her story, who we don't even know. All that matters is that it was Isabel's friend. When we had some connection, we had no problem being helpful, raising love in that space. We are moved by our love of the particular, not by the universal. What affects change in the world has very little to do with our global ethical understanding of the universe. That's one thing. It's about the particular. And then when the particular becomes universal, the universal is particular, that's true justice. That's when systems change. When it can't be something we turn away from because it's us. And I think it's totally fine. It's not a critique that we don't actually get it until it's one of us. That's humanity. It doesn't mean we're not ethical, we're not for justice, that we're not enraged by the world, that we aren't sensitive or compassionate to things. It's okay. We just have to be looking for those moments of particularism. Yom Kippur is the effort to embrace that particular feeling, to live in the vulnerability of the moment. And our services are crafted exactly for that journey. It starts with Kol Nidre, when the ark is left open, like a coffin, just waiting. What's going to happen here? And we leave it open without a Torah in it, which is never seen throughout the year. It's very rare that the ark is empty. But on Kol Nidre, it's empty. And the Torah goes out. And then in Ne'ilah, for the same amount of time, about 20 minutes, the ark is open again. But this time, there is a Torah within it. That's our journey of finding where is this emptiness, and when then can I fill it with Torah? And by we mean Torah, love, justice, the particular. That's my journey in life. And the whole fasting thing, that's part of that journey too. That we're not going to get it. One day of starving ourselves doesn't mean we know what it means to be starving. But maybe it opens us up to a little bit of the particular, what it means to want and to be a little bit hungry. That when we have to surrender, we understand a little bit that we're not supposed to dress up that well today. So some of us might be a little less washed than usual. We get a little sense of what that feels like. And then the humility element of the sins and connecting to that, what it means to be humbled and humiliated and to work through that vulnerability space so that we can get closer to our love. That part of understanding our role in the world isn't just how we can be better people. That's fine. Most of us can just try to be a little better. But it's totally connected to how we are vulnerable. That leads to more understanding, which leads to justice, which leads to love. And collectively, we're all during some part of that journey. If collectively we're all working towards the particular within the universal, working towards vulnerability so that we can get to love, then that's just life-changing for a whole community, not just one person. That's the King's beloved community right there. This transformative grace and power of love. That transformative love is part of our text as well. We've talked a little about yesterday. This afternoon we'll read the story of Jonah. And most of us, when we hear about the prophet Jonah, we think about the whale. So how did he get into the whale? Why did that happen? He's thrown off a ship. Why would he be thrown off a ship? Because the storm. I got the same answers coming out. Right. The storm. So he was trying to get away. God's like, hey, these guys in Nineveh have done something bad. You need to go there, get them repent, or we're going for them. And Jonah's like, I don't think so. I'm going to get on this boat. And God's like, fine, there's going to be a storm. I'm going to throw you overboard. And then this whale's going to get you. The whole time, Jonah is resisting prophecy. He's resisting leadership. And finally, what happens is the people, he gets there and they repent immediately. They're like, oh, that's going to happen to me? I'm changing my ways. And Jonah gets super annoyed. He's like, I went through all of that. And like, you can just do one big act of contrition and it's supposed to erase everything. And God's like, yeah. Jonah's like, no, I am a prophet. I've lived this great life. I've done all these good works. I'm connected to God. And these guys, they like put some sackcloth on and they say sorry for a day and it's all good? Like, really? And God said, yes, that's what love looks like, Jonah. And he teaches them all different kinds of ways, but that love, real abundant love, is scandalous in that way. It's unmerited. Love that comes from our text is this intense taking over and saying, all right, it doesn't erase everything. But when I see Jonah, I see a particular in the universal, I can connect to this greater sense of things. And so we think, what was Nineveh's, what was that city's great sin that allowed for the story to progress? What happened? And there are lots of different answers. There's no answer exactly in this particular text. Some say it was sorcery. Some saying it was lying. Some people say it was worshiping the sea. But all we know is that we have a great sin, a number one sin for Jews. Do you know what it is? Shout it out if you know it. Come on, guys, you know the worst sin? That's one of them. Idolatry is one of them. Arrogance, that's pretty bad. It's not the worst one. You know, you guys are feeling pretty good about yourself. You don't know the worst sin. Murder, it is not the worst sin. The worst sin, the reason that the temple came down, was baseless hate. Baseless hate. I mean, all those other sins you named are pretty bad too, but baseless hate is called sinat chinam. So what then is the greatest mitzvah, the greatest good deed of all time? Maimonides said it was seeing the good in others, which is later interpreted as ahavat chinam, baseless love. Worse than sinat chinam, baseless hate. Best mitzvah, best great deed, baseless love. Ahavat chinam. Rav Kook, who was a mystic, said that if we were destroyed, the temple was destroyed, if our world was destroyed due to baseless hatred, then we shall rebuild ourselves and the world with us with baseless love. Ahavat chinam. Baseless love. So I ask you, have you seen this baseless love in your life? For me, I think a lot about the Charleston church massacre 2 years ago. It happened at Mother Emanuel, where Dylan Roof went into a prayer service, a Bible study, and shot and killed 9 people. And the next day, do you remember this? The next day, the victims came out on camera and said, "It's in God's hand. We forgive you. Love is bigger than hate." I was blown away by that, and I thought, that is not a Jewish act. Like, I fiercely do not believe in the death penalty. But something happened to my little girls. Ooh, I'd be out there with a torch. You know, I know that in the particular, what I would want, it would be vengeance. And in the universal, I want love. But these people, they had the particular. They had the worst suffering you can imagine. And they chose to extend that love to the universal. I think as Jews, we're taught justice. Justice. It's so practical to do what's right. And you can figure it out. It's universal. That's why half of you are lawyers in here. We're people of the book. There are commandments, there are laws, there is justice. And that love thing, that's for the Christians. And I think it makes sense that as a people we develop this mindset of, and it comes, I think, from vulnerability and mistrust, that our path in this world with God and humanity is so broken, so deeply broken. Holocaust, and not just the Holocaust, but by pogrom after pogrom after pogrom after pogrom, centuries of suffering because of our love of God, because of our love of our identity. That's why so many of you are showing up on Yom Kippur and not the rest of the year. Because, not as a judgment, because you still love what it means to be Jewish. You can't let that go. And you might be connecting to that faith and identity in all different places, but it's who you are. We can't let go of it despite all the brokenness that's come our way. And that has built generations of anger and mistrust and a bifurcation of cultural identity and religious identity. And then every generation, we're asked to love God again, v'ahavta, to love God again, to trust God again. We're not told, hey, this is never going to happen to you again, or you will be spared any of the suffering of the people that came before you. We're just told this love is worth it. Being Jewish is worth it. That's the baseless love part. That you still stand here. You still call God's name. You still say Avinu Malkeinu, even if you don't believe it anymore. You're still saying it. That's that baseless love. It just might be a little seed right now. Or maybe you're lucky and it's a sprout. But that baseless love, that particular within universal, exists in all of us, all people of faith. Beloved community. The Jewish version of the beloved community doesn't come from indifference or baseless hate or moral decline. It requires our intellectual rigor and curiosity, because that love is costly and scandalous and offensive and beneficial. That Jewish vision of the beloved community is what that hate monger described. Showing up, washing away the hate, marching alongside other people who are vulnerable and oppressed, seeking justice, while also working together towards baseless love. We are the heirs of the promise of the beloved community, that we are all one. We're not just us and them working next to them because they were good to us. We are one. And the only way that we have entrance into that village that is the beloved community is through the gate of forgiveness. Because when we have forgiveness, we're holding those stones, that weight of our lack of forgiveness in our pockets. And it's dragging us down. And we're masking our fear and our pain and our resentment with anger. And we're stuck in this cycle of resentment and remorse and pain. Because people weren't created to harm each other the way that we do. And so we try to avoid pain, try to not be vulnerable. And we're also at the same time trying to avoid the pain with love. So I have one last thing to talk about before I close up. And that Alan Solomon, after any kind of weird hippie thing that I do, which I don't think, Alan, you're that into, he always comes to me afterwards and he has this emotional saying. He goes, "One Jew at a time, Rabbi. One Jew at a time." And it always used to make me laugh. It made me feel like an evangelist. It was like saving one Jew. But Alan Solomon, he's got it. He's got it. That's our whole point of doing anything. If you can say one thing, do one act that frees a Jew, connects with another Jew, celebrates another Jew, frees us from any part of that cycle, that's beloved community. That's baseless love. Anything you're doing that feels uncomfortable so that somebody else can open up and live in that and be safe is worth it. It reminds us of that tension of love and justice belong to Jews equally. You've got to do the things that we have to do. You have to do the laws. But you have to do the baseless love too. And that's the road of forgiveness. That once we are set free, once we feel that love and we're connected to our faith and we can connect to the potential of abundant love, we naturally want others to be set free. When we have been forgiven, we want to forgive other people. We want that feeling to connect to other people. When we release a debt or are released of a debt, we want to release others of debts. When our soul has been awakened, we want other souls to be awakened. And maybe as Jews, we're good at having that awakening intellectually. I know what's right and what's wrong. I know how to connect to somebody else. But do we have it in our souls? Do we have that awakening in our souls? Have we figured out the particular and the universal? As if you can imagine a society of folks who've experienced true love, the love that involves suffering and loss and hope and possibility and connects back to that. If you have a whole society of people who have loved like that, they have loved in such a way that it's like a drug. Ooh, I want more of that. I want to feel more of that kind of energy, not peace. I want to feel more love. And then they start pursuing that love and sharing that love, sharing that forgiveness, which sparks more forgiveness and release. And then the whole community just leans into the love rather than the resentment, chooses love to be bigger than the hate. I'm not saying we have to be like those folks in Charleston. That's an incredible act of divine love. But individually, we can see that all of these groupings, this universal justice, also belongs to the particular, and that love and justice is our pursuit, that we're looking for baseless, not pain-free love in our lives. I hope that this is part of your journey this year. Shana Tova.
Took my love and I took it down. I climbed a mountain and I turned around, and I saw my reflection in the snow-covered hills. Well, the landslide brought me down. Oh, mirror in the sky, what is love? Can the child within my heart rise above? Can I sail through the changing ocean tides? Can I handle the seasons of my life? Well, I've been afraid of changing, 'cause I build my life around you. But time makes you bolder. Children get older, and I'm getting older too. Well, I've been afraid of changing, 'cause I build my life around you. But time makes you bolder. Children get older, and I'm getting older too. Well, I'm getting older too. So take this love and I take it down. Yeah, and if you climb a mountain and you turn around, and if you see my reflection in the snow-covered hills, well, the landslide brought me down. And if you see ocean in the snow-covered hills. Well, maybe. Well, maybe. Well, maybe. The landslide will bring you down.
We'll rise together as we continue on page 252. Avinu Malkeinu Shema Kolenu. Avinu Malkeinu, Almighty and merciful, hear our voice. Avinu Malkeinu Chatzanu Lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, we have strayed and sinned before you. Avinu Malkeinu Chamol Aleinu, Va'al Olaleinu V'tapenu. Avinu Malkeinu, have compassion on us and our families. Avinu Malkeinu Kale Dever V'chara V'ra'av Ma'aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, halt the onslaught of sickness, violence, and hunger. Avinu Malkeinu Kale Kol Tsar Umastin Ma'aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, halt the reign of those who cause pain and terror. Avinu Malkeinu Kotvenu Besefer Chayim Tovim. Avinu Malkeinu, enter our names in the book of lives well lived. Avinu Malkeinu Chadesh Aleinu Shana Tova. Avinu Malkeinu, renew for us a year of goodness. Avinu Malkeinu Malei Yadenu Mibrochatecha. Avinu Malkeinu, let our hands overflow with your blessings. Avinu Malkeinu Harem Keren Mishichacha. Avinu Malkeinu, let our eyes behold the dawn of redemption. Avinu Malkeinu Na Al Tishvenu Rekam Ilfanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, we pray, do not turn us away for you from nothing. Avinu Malkeinu Kabel Berachamim Uvratson Et Tfilatenu. Avinu Malkeinu, welcome our prayer with love, accept and embrace it. Avinu Malkeinu Aseh Imanu Leman Shemecha. Avinu Malkeinu, act towards us as befits your name. Avinu Malkeinu Aseh Lem'ancha Im Lo Lem'anenu. Avinu Malkeinu, act for your sake, if not for ours. Avinu Malkeinu Ein Lanu Melech Ela Ata. Avinu Malkeinu, you alone are our sovereign. Avinu Malkeinu Patach Sha'arei Shamayim L'Tfilatenu. Avinu Malkeinu, let the gates of heaven be open to our prayer. Avinu Malkeinu Shema Kolenu Chus Berachem Aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, hear our voice, with tender compassion. Avinu Malkeinu Chonenu Va'anenu Ki Ein Banu Ma'asim. Aseh Imanu Tzedakah V'Chesed V'Hoshi'enu. Avinu Malkeinu, Almighty and merciful, answer us with grace, for our deeds are wanting. Save us through act of justice and love.
Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Kolenu Va'anenu, Yemanu Ma'asim, Aseh Imanu, Tzedakah v'chesed, Aseh Imanu, Tzedakah v'chesed, V'hoshi'enu. Aseh Imanu, Tzedakah v'chesed, Aseh Imanu, Tzedakah v'chesed, V'hoshi'enu.
254.
Let the reading of Torah be like prayer, a meditation to remind us what we strive for, a chant that binds us to the chain of generations. Let the reading of Torah be like prayer, a moment of purest solidarity with our people's hopes and history, an invitation to affirm or dissent, to challenge or believe, to ask why or say amen. Let the reading of Torah be like prayer, flowing like waters that renew the spirit, refreshing and sweet to nourish the soul. Let the reading of Torah be like prayer, every word a blessing, every verse a conversation with God.
אין כמוך באלוהים אדוני, ואין כמעשיך, מלכותך מלכות כל עולמים, וממשלתך בכל דור ודור. Adonai, Adonai, Rachum v'chanun, El Rachum v'chanun, Erech Apayim v'Rav Chesed v'Emet, Nortze Chesed l'alafim, Nortze Chesed l'alafim, Nose ovon fafesha v'chata'a v'nakeh. Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum v'chanun. Shadevani, העולם העולם עומד. על התורה ועל העבודה ועל גמילות חסדים. על התורה ועל העבודה ועל גמילות חסדים. על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, העולם העולם עומד. על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, העולם העולם עומד. על התורה ועל העבודה ועל גמילות חסדים. על התורה ועל העבודה ועל גמילות חסדים. על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, העולם העולם עומד. על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, העולם העולם עומד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. ישמחו השמיים, ישמחו השמיים, ישמחו השמיים, ותגל הארץ. ישמחו השמיים, ישמחו השמיים, ישמחו השמיים, ותגל הארץ.
L'Shana Tova U'Forah and Shabbat Shalom, a sweet and fruitful year to one and all. It's a genuine pleasure to be back on Temple Sholom's Bima after a 2-year hiatus. To all here present, to the entire congregation, its dedicated leaders, and to all who are listening to this worship service electronically, through Temple Sholom's online streaming initiative, including a longtime family friend, Don Bloom, who continues to recuperate from a stroke, I extend to all my deeply felt wishes for a Shanat Shefa Uvarachot, a sweet and bountiful and blessed new year. And a very special expression of gratitude goes to Rabbi Turlinchamp, who graciously calls me to this, her pulpit, year after year, on this Sabbath of Sabbaths. And like all who are a part of this congregational community, we thank her for her many acts of dedicated spiritual leadership, for her personal kindness, for her commitment to that very famous plank in the Reformed Judaism's historic Pittsburgh Platform of 1885, which calls upon all of us to address, on the basis of justice and righteousness, the problems presented by the contrasts and evils of the present organization of society. Steffi joins me in wishing you, Miriam, and Ryan, your children, and to all those who love you, only health and much happiness in 5778. Well, friends, the founder of the American Jewish Archives, the famed historian, my teacher, Jacob Rader Marcus, always delighted rabbinical students with his humorous observations on the American rabbinate. We called our teacher's colorful aphorisms Marcusian wisecracks. Now, Dr. Marcus loved to offer rabbinical students pearls of wisdom. For example, he would frequently tell us, in order to be a successful rabbi, remember always to be yourself, unless you're a jerk. Then try to be someone else. Now, most of us spend a lifetime trying to learn how to be ourselves. And this process of self-discovery begins in childhood with the help of parents and teachers. And it continues into our teenage years with the additional help and, of course, profound influence from peers and friends. And our evolving personhood continues to unfold over the course of our lives. When we are young adults, our careers and our love relationships shape and mold our sense of who we really are. And ultimately, if we're lucky enough to be full of years, we still continue to search for self-fulfillment, for the contemplation of who we really are. And we really never stop trying to be ourselves, hopefully to be our best selves. Gilbert Keith Chesterton, better known as G.K. Chesterton, that well-known English writer and philosopher and literator, completed his autobiography just prior to his death in the year 1936. And the book's American publishers, Sheed and Ward of New York City, circulated a newspaper advertisement encouraging the American public to purchase Chesterton's autobiography. And the advertisement's headline, printed in very large letters, reads as follows: England's wittiest storyteller finds his greatest story in himself. The rhetorical climax of this morning's Torah reading arrives, friends, when we hear the powerful clarion injunction, Uvacharta v'chayim, choose life. And throughout these Aseret Yemei Tshuva, throughout the 10 days of repentance, the liturgy we recite persistently warns us that our time on earth is brief. Our lives are fleeting, and every new year constitutes another opportunity to find ourselves, our true selves. Remember the words of the Unatanak Tokef prayer we just recited earlier this morning. We only say these words over the high holy days. We give voice through these words to the spiritual hope that we will be inscribed in that metaphoric book of life, the Sefer Chaim. Judaism's vast intellectual heritage abounds with interpretive descriptions of this so-called book of life. And it was the famed Jewish philosopher of the 11th century living in Spain, Bachia, who bequeathed to us one of the most oft-quoted teachings about the Sefer Chaim, the book of life. Bachia says, Ki hayamim megilot, kitvu vahem ma shetachpetzu sheyizacher lechem. Our days are scrolls, so write on them that which you would like to be remembered. Now, Bachia's metaphor compares every human life to a scroll, or if you prefer, to a book. And as our years unfold, and as we compose the content of our life story, we do so word by word, paragraph by paragraph, chapter by chapter. And the symbols and the rituals and the prayers, in particular the words we read in this morning's Torah portion, urge us to ponder whether or not our own autobiography will be, to paraphrase Chesterton's famous advertisement, the greatest story we can ever tell. Now, consider that autobiography titles are meant to captivate because they constitute the summation of a life story. So Maya Angelou's autobiography, for example, is titled, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. And Michael J. Fox, the young actor battling Parkinson's disease, his autobiography is titled, A Funny Thing Happened to Me on the Way to the Future. And the man lovingly nicknamed America's crooner, Bing Crosby, telegraphed the message of his autobiography when he entitled it, Call Me Lucky. Autobiographical titles like these provide readers with a broad sense of how the writer of that autobiography feels about his or her life. Fred Allen was one of America's most popular entertainers during the golden age of radio. Allen earned very high marks with his audience for having brilliant and creative shows. What a mind! His radio show topped the charts in the 1940s. 2 years before his unexpected death in 1956, Allen published his autobiography, in which he recounts the story of how he rose up from a small-time struggling entertainer and achieved national fame with great acclaim. Top-rated radio broadcast, The Fred Allen Show. Considering Allen's meteoric and enduring fame, the title he selected for his autobiography is a bit arresting. he titled his autobiography, Treadmill to Oblivion. And whether he knows it or not, the comedian was saying something about his life. Listen to how he explains his title. Alan writes, whether he knows it or not, the comedian is on a treadmill to oblivion. When a radio comedian's program is finally finished, it slinks down memory lane into the limbo of yesteryear's happy hours. All the comedian has to show for his years of work and aggravation is the echo of forgotten laughter. Is Alan correct? When all is said and done, is human existence nothing more than a treadmill to oblivion? An alternative approach to the meaning of existence comes from the life story of Mel Blanc, the man of 1,000 voices, including Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, Porky Pig, and countless other cartoon characters. And playing off the catchphrase on the banner that is shown at the end of every Warner Brothers Looney Tune cartoon, Blanc titles his autobiography, That's Not All, Folks. Toward the end of his book, just like Alan, Blanc relates a personal story that explains why he decided to title his autobiography as he did. You see, in 1961, while he was driving home from a job that he had taken in San Francisco, Blanc had a serious automobile accident, and he lapsed into a coma. And his prognosis was very bleak. For 2 weeks straight, his family tried to arouse him, but with no success. Finally, according to Blanc, one of the neurologists went by his bedside and whispered in his ears these words to the sleeping comic. Hey, Bugs, how are you doing today? And in a faint but barely audible voice, the family heard Blanc respond, "What's up, Doc?" And this experience, Blanc's remarkable return to life, to his family, to his daily endeavors, inspired Blanc to devise this clever inversion to the book's title. So the expression, "That's not all, folks," it may be colloquial, it may be demotic, but it is unquestionably the heart of this day. This day, in particular, is designed to awaken us from our comas, from our trance of self-satisfaction. And this is why we have recited on these holy days Maimonides' immortal challenge when we heard the shofar sound 10 days ago. Uru yisheni mishnatchem v'nirdamim hikitzu mitade matachem. Awake, slumberers, from your sleep. Arouse, slumberers, from your slumber, and ponder your deeds. Well, at this season, we pause now to consider whether we're going to be like Mel Blanc, ones who may have lost consciousness and become coma-like and inert. Can we hear with a listening heart? Can we see the world's beauty? Can our palate discern life's flavor? This age-old Jewish communal ritual that we experience together is meant to shake us from our torpor and to bring us back to consciousness and awareness that there is still more for us to do. There is still more time in which to achieve. And this season compels us to remember there are more memories to make. There's more laughter to enjoy. There's more love to offer. The more work we do, the more hope we leave in this world that it could be better than we found it. In short, one of the core messages of this day really is, that's not all, folks. Last September, on September the 4th actually, Fareed Zakaria interviewed President Barack Obama. This was an interview done just prior to his leaving office. And Zakaria asked the president to reflect on an important lesson that he learned from his years in the White House. And the president's comments, his response to Zakaria's question, is a wonderful way to conclude. The president said, you know, in the big sweep of time, in the flow of history, we get only a very small moment in time. And so, the president continued, I always tell my daughters, treat people kindly, be useful, use your time well, but remember, you are part of a larger sweep of this big story that brings us all together. Rosh Hashanah yikatevu. On Rosh Hashanah it is written, Uyom Tzom Kippur yechatemu. On Yom Kippur, the next chapter of our autobiography will be inscribed. And so when we listen to the words of this Torah portion and its admonition, Uvacharta v'chayim, choose life, let's remember President Obama's valuable counsel. Let it ring through our minds. Treat people kindly. Be useful. Use your time on this earth well. And if we do that, all of us, we will avoid getting caught on that treadmill to oblivion. And we can prove, each of us, once again, that the watchword of this season is this year and every year, that's not all, folks. Remember, the greatest story is the one that each of us has to offer, and we are truly writing it ourselves every single day. B'Sefer Chaim Bracha B'Shalom Nizacher V'Nikatev. For our days are scrolls, so therefore let us write upon them that which we want remembered. V'chein Yehi Ratzon. So may it be.
Thank you, Rabbi Zola, for your words. We know that you have a special connection to Temple Sholem, and though you love all of your children equally in this city, we feel blessed and graced to have your red hair up on this bima, sharing your words of Torah, lifting us. We've missed you. For our first Aliyah, I'd like to call anyone who has had an awakening of spirit this year. It could be physical, it could be literal, if you've seen a change in life and you want to celebrate that, or something has changed in you emotionally or spiritually, intellectually. You'll do it as a group, so there's no fear to come up. So please come up. It's been that bad of a year? All right, something good has happened. Something has changed positively in your life. will be on page 266.
Friends, you know I'm going to be chanting the High Holy Day chant. We only do this twice a year on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, so I'm not making this up myself. You just don't hear it that often. Okay, friends? We're starting here. Baruch Adonai HaBarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch atah Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Atem nitzavim hayom kulchem lifnei Adonai Elohechem rashechem shiftechem ziknechem v'shotrechem kol ish Yisrael. Tapechem nishechem v'gecha asher bekerev machanecha mechotei veitzecha ad shoev memecha lavrecha bivrit Adonai Elohecha uv'alato asher Adonai Elohecha koreti macha hayom lema'an hakimotecha hayom lo le'am vehu yelecha le'elohim ka'asher diber lach v'ka'asher nishba lavotecha le'avraham ליצחק וליעקב ולא איתכם לברכם אנוכי כורת את הברית הזאת ואת העלה הזאת כי את אשר ישנו פה עמנו עומד היום לפני אדוני אלוהינו ועת אשר איננו פה עמנו היום.
Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
For our second Aliyah, we call all those who are in need of radical hope for change to happen, and perhaps that commitment to that change has started this week or started this moment. That commitment is coming. So anyone who is in need of hope and change, either in your life or the lives of our community or in the greater world.
Friends, while folks are coming up for the blessing, you know, this portion that we read is pure Reform Judaism. This is from Nitzavim, first appears in an American liturgy at the Union Prayer Book in 1894. All traditional Jews are reading from Leviticus. They're reading all about the sacrifices that are made in the temple during the holiday. But we're reading about the importance of this day of decision, and the day at Mount Sinai becomes, of course, Yom Kippur, the day today, Hayom. So those of you who are following along with me, to make sure I'm not making any mistakes in the Hebrew, I'm picking up now on page 267, verse 11. Baruch Adonai Habarach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Atah Habarach Leolam Vaed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol hamim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Just hold this for me. Amen. Ki hamitzvah hazot asher anochi mitzavecha hayom lo nifleit hi mimecha velo rechocha hi lo vashamayim hi lemor mi ya'ale lanu hashamayma v'yikacheha lanu v'yashmienu otah v'na'asena v'lo me'ever layam hi lemor mi ya'avor lanu el ever hayam v'yikacheha lanu v'yashmienu otah v'na'asena ki karov elecha hadavar ma'od beficha uvilvavecha la'asoto.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam nata b'toreinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
May the changes you wish to see happen all over here. For our third and final Aliyah, we welcome all those who are in need of healing, in body, mind, or spirit, all those who make healing possible in this world, doctors, nurses, therapists, counselors, caregivers. I see the therapist coming up.
Baruch Adonai Haborach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Haborach Leolam Vaed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol hamim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen. ראה נתתי לפניך היום את החיים ואת הטוב, את המוות ואת הרע, אשר אנוכי מצווך היום לאהבה את אדוני אלוהיך, ללכת בדרכיו ולשמור מצוותיו וחוקותיו ומשפטיו, וחיית ורבית וברכך אדוני אלוהיך בארץ אשר אתה ושמה לרשתה. ואם יפנה לבבך ולא תשמע ונידחת והשתחווית לאלוהים אחרים ועבדתם, הגדתי לכם היום כי עובד תאבדון, לא תאריכון ימים על האדמה אשר אתה עובר את הירדן לבוא שמה לרשתה. העידותי בכם היום את השמיים ואת הארץ, החיים והמוות נתתי לפניך, הברכה והקללה, ובחרת בחיים למען תחיה אתה וזרעך, לאהבה את אדוני אלוהיך, לשמוע בקולו ולדוב קבו, כי הוא חייך ואורך ימיך, לשבת על האדמה אשר נשבע אדוני לאבותיך, לאברהם, ליצחק וליעקב, לתת להם.
Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan לנו תורת אמת, וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen.
Thank you for all that you do to sustain life, to bring life of quality, and to receive and to get to know us. Thank you. With the living Torah in front of us, to receive these words about the kind of life that we want to be living, we think about the many different kinds of healing and suffering that is happening in our world right now. That there are people who are part of this service who have recently received diagnoses, who are waiting on test results, who are trying to figure out what these next steps look like and the decisions that are within that, and our hearts are with them. We also are thinking about those who are with us but are in nursing facilities or in their homes, encountering what they are encountering today. Our thoughts are with people who are in need of healing in body, mind, and spirit, those who are struggling with addiction and these difficult decisions, ailments of body and mind and spirit. If you'd like to share someone's name out loud who's in need of healing, or your own name, please share those names now. Cookie Aronoff, Judy Avner, Michael Arm, Mira Barner, Victor Bluestein, Sheila Boniface, Melissa Kanowitz, Jacob Ross Grimes, Ethan Kadish, Yael Kraus, Lee Krinick, Elaine Heitfield, Mel Hudson, Ira Lerner, Lou Levy and Eileen Levy, Joan Little and Dennis Little, Sherry Linder, Beth McDonald, Nancy Newmark, Iris Riggs, David Rose, Betty Roth, Bob Rubin, Irish Shum, Carol Shore, Mahea Stoneman, Ralph Strauss, Lou Strauss, Susie Warschauer, Fran Victor, Yehuda ben Aharon, Chaim ben Yaakov and Nechama, and all those who are part of the service as we're all on a journey towards healing in some way. If you'd like to join with us, we're on page 271. Misha berach avotenu v'imotenu, Avraham, Yitzchak, v'Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, v'Leah, v'yivarech v'yirapeh et chacholim ha'eleh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu yimeleh rachamim elehem, l'chachlim arvatam v'chazikam, v'lechayatam, v'yishlach lahem maher refuah shlema, b'toch sha'ar hacholim, refuat ha'nefesh, refuat ha'guf, hashta b'gala v'zman kariv, v'nomar. And dressing of the Torah on page 274. Please be seated. We'll continue with our Haftarah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nviim tovim beretzav v'divrehem hanemarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai Habocher b'Torah u'v'Moshe avto u'v'Yisrael amo u'v'nvi'eh ha'emet v'tzedek.
Cry from the depths, says God. Do not hold back. Lift up your voice like the shofar. Tell my people their transgression and the house of Jacob their sin.
Yes, they seek me daily, as though eager to learn my ways, as if they were a nation that does not know what is right and has not abandoned God's law. They ask of me the right way, eager for God's nearness.
They say, why did we fast? And you do not see it. We afflict ourselves, and you do not know it. Because even on your fast day you think only of desire, while oppressing all who work for you.
Because your fasting is filled with strife, and with callous fist you strike, no, your fasting this day will not lift up your voice before heaven.
Is this the fast I desire, a day to afflict body and soul, bowing your head like a reed, covering yourself with sackcloth and ashes? Do you call this a fast, a day worthy of the favor of Adonai?
Is not this the fast I desire, to break the bonds of injustice and remove the heavy yoke, to let the oppressed go free and release all those enslaved?
Is it not to share your bread with the hungry, and to take the homeless poor into your home, and never to neglect your own flesh and blood?
Then shall your light burst forth like the dawn, and your wounds shall quickly heal. Your righteous one leading the way before you, the presence of Adonai guarding you from the behind.
Then, when you call, Adonai will answer, and when you cry, will respond, I am here. If you remove the chains of oppression, the menacing hand, the malicious word,
if you offer your compassion to the hungry and satisfy the suffering, then shall your light shine through the darkness, and your night become bright as noon.
Adonai will guide you always. Slack your thirst in parched places. Give strength to your bones. You shall be like a well-watered garden, an unfailing spring.
From you they will rebuild ancient ruins, lay foundations for ages to come, and you shall be called
the one who mends the breach and brings back the streets for dwelling.
If you cease to trample Shabbat, stop pursuing your affairs on my holy day. If you call Shabbat a delight, the holy day of Adonai honored, and if you honor God by not doing business or speaking of everyday matters,
then shall you take pure delight in Adonai. I will lift up your journey on earth to the highest of places, and nourish you from the heritage of your father Jacob. For thus spoke Adonai.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam tzur kol elomim tzadik b'chol hadorot ha'el ha'ne'eman ha'omer ve'oseh hamdaber u'mekayem shekol dvarav emet v'tzedek ne'eman atahu Adonai Eloheinu v'ne'emanim devarecha ודבר אחד מדבריך, אך לא ישוב ריקם, כי אל מלך נאמן ורחמן אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הנאמן בכל דרכיו, רחם על ציון כי בית חיינו, ולעלובת נפש תהושיע, במהרה בימינו, ברוך אתה אדוני, משמח ציון בבניה תויטו. שמחנו אדוני אלוהינו, באליהו הנביא עבדך, ובמלכות בית דוד משיחך, במהרה יבוא ויגל ליבנו, על כיסו לא ישב זר, ולא ינחלו עוד אחרים את כבודו, כי בשם קודשך נשבעת לו, שלא יכבה נרו לעולם ועד, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן דוד. על התורה ועל העבודה, ועל הנביאים ועל יום השבת הזה, ועל יום הכיפורים הזה, שנתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו, לקדושה ולמנוחה, למחילה ולסליחה, ולכפרה, לכבוד ותפארת. על הכל, אדוני אלוהינו, אנחנו מודים לך, ומברכים אותך, יתברך שמך, בפי כוחך תמיד לעולם לעד, וברכה אמת וקיים לעד. ברוך אתה, אדוני, מלך מוחל וסולח לעוונותינו, לעוונות עמו בית ישראל, ומעביר אשמותינו בכל שנה ושנה. מלך על כל הארץ, מקדש השבת וישראל ויום הכיפורים.
Eternal Presence, who blessed our mothers and fathers, bless this holy congregation, a house of study, prayer, and righteous deeds. Together we give thanks for our leaders, those who learn, teach, and uphold the Torah, inspiring others to learn, teach, and uphold the Torah. Those who do the sacred work of building our community. May their service bring them joy, fulfillment, and purpose, and may they go from strength to strength. For our members, diverse in age, interest, and background, Jews by birth and Jews by choice, those of other faiths who join with us, all who offer their time and talent, their love and commitment. For all who come here on this holy day of Yom Kippur to share the search for meaning and renewal, your presence is a blessing, your friendship a gift. May the spirit of peace, dignity, and respect live within these walls, inspiring us to care for one another with compassion. And may we be a source of goodness, light, and healing for the world. May the one who blessed the generations before us bless us as we stand together on this day, one congregation joined with all Jewish communities of the world through our prayers on this day of atonement. Let us renew ourselves for the year ahead. Let us honor the precious legacy that is ours.
We continue on 286.
We are assembled today as a nation divided, both in numbers of people as well as the issues we face. And I can't think of a prayer which is more appropriate to share with everybody here. This prayer is a composite. It's a composite of Hebrew Scripture, the Constitution of the United States, as well as the Declaration of Independence. Because this affects all of us, I'd like all of you to join with me in reciting this prayer. God of holiness, we hear your message. Justice, justice, you shall pursue. God of freedom, we hear your charge. Proclaim liberty throughout God. Inspire us through the teachings and commandments to love and uphold precious democracy. Let every citizen take responsibility for the rights and freedoms we cherish. Let each of us be an advocate for justice, an activist for liberty, a defender of dignity. And let us champion the values that make our nation a haven for persecuted, a beacon of hope among the nations. May our actions reflect the compassion for all people within our borders and abroad. May our leaders and officials embody the vision of our founders to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty in our prosperity. We pray for courage and conscience as we aim to support our nation's highest values and aspirations, the hard-won rights that define us as a people, the responsibilities that they entail. We pray for all who serve our country, selfless devotion to peace and in war, from the fields of battle to clinics and classrooms, from government to the grassroots, all those whose noble deeds and sacrifice benefit our nation and our world. We are grateful for the rights of life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness that our founders ascribed to you, our Creator. We pray for this wisdom and moral strength, for we may be guardians of those rights for ourselves and for the sake of all people, now and forever.
Beginning the conclusion of our service, and Nola's going to offer a song to break up this part of it.
Gonna make a change for once in my life. I'm gonna make a difference, gonna make it right. When I see those on the street with not enough to eat, who am I to be blind? The season turns, it's time to change my state of mind, to renew my soul. I'm looking at the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his ways. No message could be any clearer. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make that change. Victim of a selfish kind of love. It's time we realize that there are those with no home, not a dime of their own. Let's help to make it right. Could it really be me pretending not to see that their life is hard? We just can't disregard when we can play a part. It's time to make that start. And I'm looking at the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his ways. And no message could be any clearer. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make that change. I'm looking at the man in the mirror, and I'm asking him to change his ways. No message could be any clearer. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make that change.
Little Michael Jackson, always necessary Yom Kippur. Back to 291. A precious teaching I have given you, my Torah. Do not forsake it. A tree of life to those who hold it fast. All who embrace it know happiness. Its ways are ways of pleasantness, and all its paths are peace. Take us back, Adonai. Let us come back to you. Renew in our time the days of old. continue responsively on page 293. Because I was angry, because I didn't think, because I was exhausted and on edge, because I'd been drinking, because I can be mean, because I was reckless and selfish, because I was worried about money, because my marriage was dead, because other people were doing it, because I thought I could get away with it, because I did something wrong, because I'm in pain, because I wish I could undo it, because I hurt him, because I lost her trust, because I let them down, because I was self-destructive, because I was foolish, because I'm shamed, because that's not who I am, because that's not who I want to be, because I want to be forgiven. God, bring down my walls of defensiveness and self-righteousness. Help me to stay in humility. Please give me the strength to do what's right. We continue on page 296, asking ourselves to knock to open the walls, the gates around our hearts. Our God and God of all generations, may our prayers reach your presence. And when we turn to you, do not be indifferent. Adonai, we are arrogant and stubborn, claiming to be blameless and free of sin. In truth, we have stumbled and strayed. We have done wrong.
Ashamnu, Bagadnu, Gazalnu, Dibarnu dofi,
Vehirshanu, Zadnu, Hamasnu,
Tafalnu
Shaker,
Yatsnura, Kizavnu, Latsnu, Maradnu, Niotsnu, Zararnu, Avinu, Pashanu, Tsararnu, Kishinu Oref, Rashanu, Shichatnu, Tiavnu, Tainu, Titanu.
Together, of these wrongs we are guilty. We betray, we steal, we scorn, we act perversely. We are cruel, we scheme, we are violent, we slander. We devise evil, we lie, we ridicule, we disobey. We abuse, we defy, we corrupt, we commit crimes. We are hostile, we are stubborn, we are immoral, we kill. We spoil, we go astray, we lead others astray. page 299. For the sin we committed against you through evading and avoiding, because we could not face the truth. For our flight into hypocrisy and deception, because we did not dare to speak it. For the facts we dissembled and all we glossed over, for the excuses we made. For feeding our bodies and starving our souls, for interfering with the souls of others and neglecting their needs, for shifting our responsibilities, for reproaches and recriminations, for our foolishness, our folly, and false standards, for seeing these things only in others and never in ourselves, for our complacency which blinds us, and our self-righteousness which lessens us, for calculating kindness and measuring out pity, for charity that is cold and prayers without feeling, for withholding our love, for the appeals that we ignored and the people whom we refused, for the affection which died in our lives that became bitter, for the visions which faded, the ideals we neglected, and the opportunities we lost, for the fear of change and renewal and our unbelief, for saying prayers out loud but refusing to listen, for being our own worst enemy. Join with me as is comfortable. Al chet shachatanu lefanecha be'ones uvratzon, v'al chet shachatanu lefanecha b'yodim uvlo yodim. The ways we have wronged you under duress and by choice, and harm we have caused in your world unconsciously and unconsciously. Al chet shachatanu lefanecha b'vli da'at, v'al chet shachatanu lefanecha b'ritzat raglayim lahara'ah. The ways we have wronged you through our thoughtlessness, and harm we have caused in your world through impulsive acts of malice. Achet shachatanu lefanecha bechozak yad, v'achet shachatanu lefanecha b'zilzul horim umorim. The ways we have wronged you by abusing our power, and harm we have caused in your world through disrespect to parents and teachers. Achet shachatanu lefanecha b'yetzer hara, v'achet shachatanu lefanecha b'kaishut oref. The ways we have wronged you by giving into our hostile impulses, and the harm we have caused in your world through inflexibility and stubbornness. Achet shachatanu lefanecha b'chachash uvchazav, v'achet shachatanu lefanecha b'kalut rosh. The ways we have wronged you through lies and deceit, and the harm we have caused in your world by making light of serious matters. Achet shachatanu lefanecha b'siach tzvotenu, v'achet shachatanu lefanecha b'tzarut ayin. The ways we have wronged you in our routine conversations, and the harm we have caused in your world through envy. V'al kolam Elohai tzlichot tzlach lanu, machal lanu, kaper lanu. For all these failures of judgment and will, God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, lead us to atonement. Shachatanu lefanecha b'galui uvasater, v'achet shachatanu lefanecha b'snat chinam. The ways we have wronged you openly and secretly, and the harm we have caused in your world by hating without cause. Achet shachatanu lefanecha b'frikat ol, v'achet shachatanu lefanecha b'ma'achal uvmishteh. The ways we have wronged you by losing self-control, and the harm we have caused in your world through consumption of food and drink. Achet shachatanu lefanecha b'gilui ariyot, v'achet shachatanu lefanecha b'umut halev. The ways we have wronged you through sexual immorality, and the harm we have caused in your world by hardening our hearts. Achet shachatanu lefanecha b'nechshech u'baribit, v'achet shachatanu lefanecha b'masa uvmatan. the ways we have wronged you through greed and exploitation, and the harm we have caused in your world through dishonesty in business. The ways we have wronged you through our innermost thoughts, and the harm we have caused in your world through gossip and rumor. The ways we have wronged you by offering or accepting bribes, and the harm we have caused in your world by profaning your name in public. V'yal kulam Elohai slichot, slach lanu, mechal lanu, kaper lanu. For all these failures of judgment and will, God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, and lead us to atonement. Continue with silent confession through page 316. (316).
Shema Kolenu Adonai Eloheinu Shema Shema Chus Verachem Verachem Aleinu Shema Shema, Shema, Shema Kolenu Adonai Eloheinu Shema, Shema Chus Verachem Verachem רצון את תפילתנו. חדש ימינו, ימינו כקדם, חדש ימינו, חדש ימינו.
Before we conclude with our final song of this morning, in the wise words of the Venerable Rabbi Zola, that's not all, folks. It's a long, long day, and so thank you for being our partners in this journey of this morning's service. If you want, after this, if you want to stay in the building, a lot of people like to do that. We have lots of different choices. We have mindful coloring, which is basically all these Zen coloring books out in the library. And that's all ages and just self-led. We also have Elizabeth Hopkins, who's the lead organizer for the Amos Project, talking about incarceration in our city and the different efforts that we're doing towards the New Ballot Initiative. And then at 2:30, you could also meet in the foyer, and anyone who wants to take a walk together can take a walk together, and we have some guided meditation sheets for that. And then at 2:30, we'll switch. There'll still be the coloring, still walking, and then I will be in Boy Mill, which is the small sanctuary over here, with a study session on tshuva, on atonement and forgiveness, and how it works in our liturgy. And then if you're going to leave, don't worry about it. The afternoon service starts at 3:45. And then Yisker, I think, will be about 5 o'clock. So can I get in 10 minutes beforehand? But it should be about 5 o'clock. And we believe the whole evening will be over by 6-ish. So 6:15 is probably where we'll be at. So I just want to, if this is your last stop with us today, then thank you for being here. And if not, then we have a whole afternoon to spend together in the evening. Be safe. Take care of yourself. It's about vulnerability. Not about weakness, not about starving yourself, just being aware. If you feel sick, take care of yourself. And thank you to Mark and to our choir, to Jonathan, to all the Torah readers, to Bob for your streaming, to our staff, to all of you who've made this possible. We'll continue on through 318. Infinite source of goodness, help us to see the good in ourselves and in others, and in the world around us. Teach us to cultivate a discerning mind, to know right from wrong, and a listening heart, open to love and forgiveness. Guide us to walk in your ways with integrity, ever faithful to the promises our forebears made. And may your goodness inspire us to do what is just and right.
Hayom, 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 hayom tzadzeinu. Hayom, 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 hayom tzadzeinu, amen. Hayom, 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 hayom tzadzeinu.
to receive a blessing. If you're not a toucher, that's okay. If you're online, put your hands out, whatever works for you. Your job is to say amen. Strengthen us this day. Bless us this day. This day exalt us. Show us kindness this day. Inscribe this day for a life of goodness. This day hear our cry. Now and always support us with the strength of your righteousness. Amen. Shana Tova.